This is Rick Rule for Rule Investment Media and the Rule Classroom, sponsors of the 2025 Rule Natural Resources Investment Symposium, July 7 through 11 in Boca Raton, Florida, or via live stream in the comfort and convenience of your own home. Whether you attend live or via live stream, there's a few things about the conference you need to know. The first is that over 4 days, we give you between 50 and 55 hours of dense, valuable programming, more than you can absorb at the time with the time that you have at hand. To that end, we record the entire proceedings, including all the breakout sessions, so that you can replay the recordings for the course of a year to reinforce the message that you learned at the conference, and you'll need to do that. Also, to that end, we interview every single public company exhibitor before the conference so that you have the opportunity to study the exhibitors and reach out to them even before you reach the conference, or at the very least, to allocate your time and attention at the conference more efficiently. Note, too, that every public company exhibitor at the conference is owned in the accounts of the conference sponsors. While sadly, the fact that I own stock doesn't guarantee that the share price goes up, it does guarantee that unlike any other investment conference at in the planet, every single exhibitor has been vetted. So let's start the process. Today, I have the good fortune to interview Taylor Melvin of Ivanhoe Electric. Taylor, first of all, thank you for really decades of effort on behalf of natural resource investors. But thank you particularly for your sponsorship and support of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium.
Rick, thank you very much. It's great to be here with you and your investors today. Also, as someone who's attended your conference in Florida a couple of times, I know what a powerful and what an enjoyable experience it is, not just for the attendees, but also for the companies who are presenting. So thank you for this opportunity.
Tell me a little bit about Taylor Melvin. Tell me what you did to get hired to run a Friedland company, which is in and of itself a high honor, albeit a hard task.
It is a fun and fulfilling task, to say the least. I started my career in natural resources with J.P. Morgan's investment bank in New York, going all the way back to 2001, coming out of business school. I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, joined J.P. Morgan's global natural resources investment bank in New York, and started off my career actually focused on the upstream E&P space in the oil and gas industry. Transitioned into the hard rock mining industry around 2003, and had the great fortune to have one of our largest and most interesting clients being Freeport-McMoRan. So, that's obviously one of the great mining companies in the United States and globally, and one of the world's largest copper producing companies. As a banker at J.P. Morgan, we actually worked with Richard Ackerson, Kathleen Quirk, and at the time, Bob Moffett, advising that company on its acquisition of Phelps Dodge back in 2006 and 2007. At the time, was the largest M&A transaction in the global mining space. That led me to go work for Richard and Kathleen at Freeport. I moved to Phoenix, Arizona in 2008. I've been in Arizona ever since then. Obviously came to know Robert through the industry. For your investors most probably do know Robert, but Robert's one of the great entrepreneurs, company builders, technology innovators in our space. And when he came with me with the opportunity to work with him at Ivanhoe Electric, it was a great opportunity and allowed me to be in Arizona and work on some great projects. And so that's a little bit about my background and how I got here today.
That's a perfect pedigree. I would be remiss if I didn't identify Bob Moffett as one of my great personal mentors. He was enormously useful to me and enormously kind to me early in my career. A lot of parallels, frankly, between him and Robert.
No question about it, and I count myself incredibly lucky to have known Jim Bob, worked, for one of his companies, and obviously now working with Robert.
I bet you've been cussed out thoroughly by both from time to time. Strong personalities. So let's get down to Ivanhoe Electric.
Sure.
Robert's had a history of success around things named Ivanhoe. Tell me what you all are trying to accomplish there this go round.
Sure. So Robert brought this company public in the United States in the summer of 2022. We're really a technology-driven, exploration-focused company focused on finding and developing new sources of critical metals, focused on the United States, and focused on copper. On the technology front, we've got a very powerful platform of hardware, which is called Typhoon. It's a powerful ground-based transmitting system. And we have a computational geoscience incorporated software subsidiary based in Vancouver, Canada. We own 94% of that subsidiary. And when you combine the hardware of Typhoon with the software of CGI, we have an incredibly powerful technology-driven platform that allows us to effectively accelerate the exploration process. Typhoon's got industry-leading capabilities, and its ability to deliver immense amounts of power into the ground allows us to see over great areas to great depths, exceeding 1 kilometer depth, and to highlight, through electromagnetic and induced polarization surveys, underground, conductive and chargeable geophysical anomalies. What CGI does is take that massive amount of raw data from Typhoon and converts it rapidly and accurately into three-dimensional images of underground anomalies that help us target future drilling. So what we really do is effectively accelerate exploration over large areas, and we're using that technology in some very important partnerships with some of the world's leading mining companies. In Saudi Arabia, we're 50-50 partners with Ma'aden, where we're exploring an area of 48,500 square kilometers of very prospective land on the Arabian Shield, looking for new sources of critical metals in Saudi Arabia. And again, 50-50 partners with Ma'aden. Ma'aden invested $150 million into our company for a 9.9% stake back in 2023. In the United States, we're using our technologies with BHP, the world's largest mining company, on early stage exploration activities in the Southwest U.S., looking for new sources of critical metals, again, focused on copper. So we've got a very broad and very diverse set of exploration projects globally. And then maybe we'll take some time and talk about our portfolio of projects in the U.S.
I want to talk about Typhoon just a little bit longer. It would appear to me that what you're trying to do in the mining business is what, in particular, three-dimensional seismic was able to do in the soft rock business. It's also useful to me to hear you say that BHP, which was promoting a competing technology, is joint venturing with you. Could you go into that a little bit?
Sure, it's a great opportunity for us at Ivanhoe Electric to partner with someone like BHP, their vast global reach and their vast global network of resources. And what we bring to the table is a nimble exploration platform and disruptive technologies that help accelerate that process here in the U.S. Typhoon is a system of very advanced switches and capacitors developed by Robert's private company called iPulse in Toulouse, France. This goes all the way back to Robert's exploration work in Mongolia to what eventually became the Oyu Tolgoi project. But what Typhoon does is use this system of proprietary switches and capacitors to deliver a very powerful signal into the ground of up to 10,000 volts and 200 amps. And in addition to just being powerful, it's a very clean signal. So it has industry-leading, noise cancellation or clarity of signal, which allows us to generate much more accurate underground images. So in places like the U.S. and the Southwest, where we have this deep basin and range cover areas, allows us to see deep underground to look for new sources of critical metals. And that software component at CGI allows us to rapidly convert that data into underground three-dimensional images. And that's an important part of our story. Going back to when I joined the company in 2022, it was taking us around 6 to 8 weeks to convert that raw data from Typhoon into images that we could use in the field. The machine learning-based component of this very advanced algorithmic-based software is allowing us now to generate these images in 24 hours. So we're able to deliver real-time turnaround, on-the-ground information to our teams in Saudi Arabia, for example, to help guide that next step in the surveying process. So, in a world that needs more copper and more critical metals to meet growing demand associated with the prolific growth and artificial intelligence and all of the infrastructure and energy generation that's required to support that industry, we need to find more of these critical metals and specifically find more copper. So the ability to explore across larger areas more quickly and more accurately is an incredibly valuable tool for our company.
Now let's talk about a couple places that you're testing this out. You're in Arizona, so presumably you'd like to talk about Santa Cruz. Perhaps talk to us about Tintic or any other projects that you think our audience should know about.
Certainly, we have used Typhoon throughout our portfolio of projects in the U.S. You mentioned Tintic in Utah. We haven't talked about it specifically, but the Hog Heaven project in Montana is an area where we've used Typhoon to effectively locate a deep underground copper gold porphyry. We have future drill targets there and future exploration work to do the balance of this year to further expand that exploration project and to look for higher grade mineralization at greater depths. But our most advanced project by far is the Santa Cruz project here in Arizona, about an hour south of where I am currently in Phoenix. Santa Cruz is a large, high-grade underground copper deposit located entirely on private land. We own about 6,000 acres of private land, all the associated water rights that go with that land. Arizona, as you know, is a prolific mining state. Arizona has produced about 10% of the copper produced globally. It's an area that knows mining well. It's an area that appreciates mining, and mining is an integral part of this state's economy. You look at all the assets that Freeport operates here and other companies as well. But at Santa Cruz, we have an advanced project. We published an initial assessment back in September of 2023 that outlined a 4.7 million tons of contained copper resource at an average grade of about 1.2% copper. We're now on the precipice of publishing our preliminary feasibility study for Santa Cruz later this month. So we're going to have a study that comes out this month that's backed by about $100 million of studies, infill drilling, metallurgical test work, hydrogeological test work that's going to outline what this project's going to look like as we go into the permitting phase and into construction, which we hope to commence as soon as first half of next year. We see Santa Cruz as being the next great high quality, high grade copper producing asset in the United States. And I wish I could talk more about that PFS, but as you can imagine, being so close to its release, need to really stay focused on the data that was included in the initial assessment.
Well, hopefully by July 7th in Boca Raton, you will be able to be specific. I look forward to that.
We're going to be very specific, and I'm very happy to say that in addition to having Mike Patterson, who runs our corporate development and investor relations activities, we're also going to have Glenn Kuntz, who's our senior vice president of project development, at your conference to talk about all the specifics, and very much invite all your attendees to please come see us, because we'll be in a much better position to talk about this great asset in the United States capable of producing pure copper cathode to support U.S. domestic demand.
Something that you said may have slipped past a couple of our attendees, which is the fact that this is on private ground. Explain to me and them how this doesn't become a resolution, the importance of being on fee land.
Yeah, Rick, that's a huge point, and it's one that we really talked about extensively going back to ever since I joined the company, and Robert was able to put together this package of the mineral rights at Santa Cruz, and then we acquired the surface rights in the middle of 2023. We bought almost 6,000 acres of surface land for just about $115 million. We reconsolidated that mineral right with the surface rights, and that's an incredibly important thing for our investors, that we not only have sufficient ground to develop the Santa Cruz project as it's currently being envisioned, we have sufficient land to support incredible future expansion opportunities as well. And this area is blessed with incredible existing infrastructure. We have access to existing water rights through Type 1 wells that we acquired on the land. We've got a power line that runs through the property. We've got a natural gas pipeline that runs through the project. We have access to huge population centers at Phoenix and Tucson. But being on private land, our primary permitting authority is the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. It's not the federal government. And so that really helps to streamline the permitting process for our project. And it's what allows us to talk about a project timeline that has us looking at potential to commence initial construction as soon as the first half of next year and deliver potential first copper cathode before the end of 2028. So, in the world of mining, that's like day after tomorrow. That's incredibly fast. And so we're in a great position. And I really want to emphasize the importance of we're in a country right now with an administration that supports mining. I've been very fortunate to spend a lot of time in Washington the last few months, And we're incredibly blessed to have an administration and a tailwind that wants to see mining in the U.S. And for us to be a United States company based in Phoenix, Arizona, primarily listed on the New York Stock Exchange, supported by large scale institutional shareholders, household names in our space like Fidelity, BlackRock, T. Rowe Price, et cetera. And then with Robert, we've just got incredible access to investors, access to capital, and an ability to bring a project online that's going to be a source of economic prosperity and pride for not just Phoenix and Arizona, but for the United States.
Taylor, I want to thank you for decades of toil on behalf of natural resource investors, in particular this one. Uh, and thank you, too, for your ongoing support of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. We look forward to hosting you down in Boca.
Well, Rick, thanks very much. We look forward to getting there. We obviously have a lot to talk about at Ivanhoe Electric. We've got a super exciting future. And for people who want to play growth in critical metals and growth in copper in the United States, we've got a great story. I look forward to seeing you and your investors soon.
Now, Taylor, tell me who's going to tell that story to our people. How do my folks reach out and touch a living, breathing human being at Ivanhoe? Who do they talk to? How do they find them?
Best first living, breathing human being to talk to would be Mike Patterson. Mike's sitting right next to me in an office here in Phoenix. Mike runs our investor relations function and our corporate development activities. Mike's email is mike@ivnelectric.com. So that's mike@ivnelectric.com. And Mike will be at your conference and with other members of our management team.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I look forward to seeing you in Boca.
Rick, thanks again. Great to be here today. Look forward to seeing you. Thanks.